All right. Hi, everyone. So today I am joined by my Auntie Bernadette Jaramillo. She's awesome, very sweet, hard worker, and I'm really excited to have her with me today. I'm also joined by my uncle, Toby Michael. He's a very great person as well, has a great family, and I'm really happy to have him as well today. So basically, we're just going to talk about Mantanzas. They're very important to our culture, so I think these two will be excellent in helping to explain some of those things further. So we'll go ahead and get started. Auntie Berna, if you wouldn't mind, just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Bernadette Jaramillo. I am a resident here in Los Lunas, New Mexico. I work for UNM Hospital, and I've been around for a while through plenty of matanzas, and very proud to be asked to be in this audition.
Thank you. And Uncle Michael, how about you?
Yeah, my name is Toby Michael Jaramillo, and I'm glad that I was able to join you both tonight. I currently reside in a place called Madera, California. It's right north of Fresno, California. I am a fire marshal for a large hospital corporation here in the Central Valley.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So yeah, today we're talking about Mantanza, so let's just get into it. So Auntie, in a brief summary, if you had to describe what a Mantanza was or what the reason for the event is, what would you say?
I think the reason for matanza is basically not only for being with family, but it's also a celebration of our tradition, of how we express, how we get together and communicate and make a meal as a family, but yet feed our families and just welcome people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a really rewarding event.
Mm-hmm. And how about you, Uncle? How would you describe this event or the reason for it?
Well, from the way I was raised and brought up regarding this and the little research that I've done, it is not only a family tradition and an event to share with the family, but a lot of its origins are related to subsistence living before. A lot of family members would get together and they'd be able to share a harvested animal in order for their cultural meals during the wintertime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think these are really great responses to that question. So if you had to, examine what usually takes place at these events, what usually would you be a witness to? So what can you see, hear, smell, taste, and touch at this event? Auntie, what would you say?
From the beginning in the morning, from the starting of the fire, early in the morning, trying to prep the water, starting this fire, and the smell of the wood and getting ready, and the shotgun sound of killing the animal, and just people entertaining each other, and just the sharpening of the knives and the smell of this, the beginning process of this matanza. It's just really neat. It's really nice.
And how about you, Uncle? What would you say? What usually takes place at this Mantanza? What can you expect to, be a witness to?
A lot of it, again, goes back to a cultural surrounding. Some of the smells, like Berna said, Auntie Berna said was, the smell of still darkness. A lot of these takes place in October to January, February timeframe, where there's not a lot of sun. It's kind of the winter solstice. A lot of, like Auntie Berna said, again, the sharpening of knives, the conversation, a lot of the elders coming up with a game plan, how things are done, making sure that a lot of the items that are prepared are getting ready to be prepared for the event in itself. A lot of the women, again, it's I know we live in a culture that again is trying to stay away from sexism, I guess you could say, but a lot of it has gender roles, and it's not because of a male dominated area or a female responsibility of certain things, but that's just the culture behind it, is a lot of the males had dealt with a lot of the things outside. So the conversations about growing up and hearing what their past experiences were, or the stories that they were told when they were younger. The women, same thing, showing the younger females of the family the responsibilities and their duty family shares. So a lot of the sights and sounds and smells, it's hard to describe in the sense that it's a liberating event in a sense that you're surrounded by people that embrace your culture. They also embrace one another, and they're there to support one another.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great response.
Yeah.
You had mentioned gender roles. Auntie, do you have anything to add to Uncle Michael's comment on all of that?
Well, you know what? Growing up, yes, the women were always inside, and
Mhm.
they were making the tortillas and making,
Mhm.
preparing the chili, and they were just like running for the pots and pans and getting everything that these guys needed because
Mhm.
they were basically butchering the animals. And as time's gone by and stuff, and I have a daughter that's very involved, and she'll be out there now. So there are women that will get out there and help cut up the pig, and we all do it now.
Mhm.
So it's just it's everybody now is more involved as they've grown, and we're just trying to keep the tradition alive because maybe there's not a lot of guys in the family.
Mhm.
So but the women will step up and do their part now.
Mhm. Yeah. So, what is usually eaten at Mantanzas? I know the food there is so delicious, but what can you get on your plate at a Mantanza? Uncle Michael, what would you say?
You know what, it varies quite a bit, and what I mean by that is, again, going back to my original answer when you asked me the first question, is what a matanza exists for. Again, now it's more of a get together gathering, but again, it was more for subsistence living prior. I mean, again, a lot of the food storage or the food items that were harvested during this time were used throughout the winter to make cultural foods.
Mhm.
So some of the things that I've seen cooked at a matanza are things like carnitas, carne adobada, chicharrones, costillas or ribs. I've seen the liver, heart, kidneys. They've all been prepared. Pretty much a lot of the parts of the animal itself were always used. Nothing was to waste. Even from the head of the pig itself, a lot of it was made head cheese. They would make blood pudding, which sounds kind of strange or a ritual thing, but actually cinnamon to the blood itself. So, you can expect tortillas, red chili, fresh pinto beans, um, a lot of the hide itself from the pig. A lot of people don't realize this, but by even buying pork rinds at the store in a bag, that's what those are actually is the hide. Is it's just deep fried and it turns into a puff or your pork rind.
Mhm.
A lot of different cultures, like I said, a lot of different cultures have used similar cooking methods. Um, but again, the whole animal is used from the front to the back, even to where the hooves of the animal are clean, washed, and they're actually used in pozole. You may even find pozole being there because a lot of the meat used in pozole is, again, pork.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't understand the, like I said, the subsistence living of it and why it's so cultural and held during certain times. A lot of people ask, well, why isn't this done during the summertime? Or why isn't this done in the spring? Well, you got to remember when this culture was brought to this area or to our ancestors, it was, again, no refrigerators existed. There wasn't no, hey, let's plug it in, let's turn it in the freezer. There was none of this. Let's go to Walmart, let's go to Smith's grocery store and get the meat. A lot of it was harvested in the wintertime because, again, in the cooler temperatures, pork doesn't spoil in colder temperatures. Hence the reason why it's done at a certain time. So you can find all those great foods. Again, people do the most random things with it, even from the intestines. They save the casing and they make sausage with it later. So again, you can find all those great foods at a matanza.
Mhm. So everything gets used up.
Oh
Andy, do you
yeah.
have anything to add to that?
Yeah, we were brought up like a lot of people don't eat a lot of this stuff, and we've had people come to matanzas and they're like, "Wow, we're not eating that. That's totally not right."
Mhm.
And some
Shocking.
of them might, yeah, be shocked or be offended and stuff like that. But and until you try it, and there's like I said, but being raised as our families, a lot of people were just not well off, so
Mhm.
nothing went to waste,
Mhm.
and that was the reason. I mean, they just figured out how we're going to make our help our family to survive, and but
Mhm.
it was just a gathering of helping each other to put this animal,
Mhm.
there in front of everybody. Let's get together and let's just feed everybody and feed our families. But yeah, most of the stuff that he said, guiso, there's so many different things, but this animal was not wasted. Everybody was able to feed their families and enjoy the day.
Mhm. Awesome. Would you guys say that there's any concerns there might be related to this event? So for example, some might say that at Matanzas, it could be excessive drinking or underage drinking, maybe unhealthy behaviors such as overeating. Also, some people may be sensitive to animals and might have a problem, with the actual butchering of the pig. Do you have thoughts on this? Auntie, what would you say about this?
Some people do. Like I said, my parents had a matanza one time, and they did invite people that have never been, and they were happy to come. And they kind of felt it was offensive that the blood was being used. But like I said, my parents said, well, you don't have to eat it. It's not something you have to do. But it's just a way of life how we were raised, and everybody has their different traditions and stuff. And overly drinking, I mean, you know, when we've had stuff, yeah, people celebrate from the morning and stuff like that. But usually, we've never really had an incident where there's been a problem. And, I'm not saying there's never going to be a problem, but it's just maintaining and how respecting the people that you do go to their homes or, having the celebration with.
Mhm. Uncle, how about you? Any concerns for this event?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that. I have a good friend of mine who is absolutely loves matanzas, has always grown up around matanzas, but he's allergic to pork. But he loves being there. But some of the concerns I've seen people have is again diabetes, because again, Hispanics are predominantly more susceptible of having diabetes and other ailments, high cholesterol, things of that nature. So those are kind of a concern, but a lot of people, they overlook those concerns because it's not a daily event. It may be an annual event for them or something that happens every few years that they may get invited to it. The alcohol, again, there have been incidences where people overdrink, but that's with any culture and any event. And it's hard to, I don't want to say not promote drinking, but just ask everyone to be respectful. And a lot of people do have a tendency to be respectful because these events are attended by elderly people as well. I mean, we're talking elderly people, not in the sense of, people in their 70s, 80s, 90s that we've never met, but these are actually grandfathers, grandmothers, great aunts, great uncles, cousins, nephews, nieces. And so, again, a lot of the behaviors that are portrayed there are, you know, uh, displayed around family members. So again, you don't want to embarrass yourself. Oh, there's, Uncle so and so. He's going to get drunk all the time and pass out in 30 minutes. So again, these events do happen, and it is a concern. And like Auntie Berna talked about, as time goes on and we're more aware of these issues, it's a lot more, people are a lot more forthcoming and talking about it. And it's not a sense of embarrassment to where before it was kind of like you turned a blind eye to these things. But since we've been able to open up more and communicate a little bit more effectively, again, it's 2022. So things have changed from the early 1900s to now. But again, the tradition remains the same of how we celebrate it. It's just the events taking place during that celebration may change and people are more respectful and responsible.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And you had mentioned, the stories, and those stories do linger. So if you do something, in front of family, you'll never hear the end of that. I'll tell you that. So why do you guys think this event has been passed on and practiced all this time? Like, why is it so important that our grandparents might have done it, and our grandparents and my parents? And why is it important for me to do it? Why is it important for our nieces to do it, our grandchildren? Why is this event so important and passed on throughout all these generations? Auntie, what do you think?
I don't know. I just think it's just a time to actually come together as a family. And yeah, we don't have to save the food as it was like back then where they didn't have it and they depended on it. But it's a time of celebration. It's a time to work together as a family, to teach your friends, to teach your kids. Everybody can work together as a community and come to and bond, because it doesn't happen anymore. People are so busy doing everything else that they don't have time to take a time out, come and help your grandparents, learn how to do these things. And if we stop, then it just ends. So it is an important culture for these kids to learn, because I mean, it's like, get off your Wi-Fi, get off your your stuff, and come and see what your grandparents and your parents wanted you to learn. It's such an amazing event. You know, it's a lot of work, but it's rewarding.
Yeah, exactly. You know, without it being passed down, it would just be erased, and it would be a, you know, part of history that's just erased. Uncle, what do you think about this? Why is it so important?
It's important in many ways. Just like Auntie Berna was saying, it's a time to bond with your family. Um, it it shows the roles and responsibilities that are passed down through generation to generation. A lot of people don't realize that it's actually a life building skill in many ways that is sometimes overlooked because, again, we look at it as a celebration, but it's a time to communicate with people you may not see all the time or loved ones. Again, the closest thing that you can actually share with anybody is a meal. To sit there and, I guess you could say, break bread in a sense. That's an important role because that's a very intimate part of someone's life, to be able to sit across from each other and have a conversation and eat. But again, the roles and responsibilities that are shared through generations, it shows, respect, it shows responsibility, commitment, and it shows a lot of different things that a lot of people don't take into consideration as part of this event. And it's a wonderful event, and I think it's important. I share I share this information with my children, simply because it's who we are. It's something that's been passed down. Again, there are a lot of bad things that have been passed down through generations in different cultures, but this is a positive event that is shared from generation to generation. Again, to come together, to set aside differences, to eat with one another, and not only that, but to just experience outdoors. A lot of people in this day and age, and just like I said, look at us right now. We're having a communication. You guys are 984 miles away from me. We're doing this by telephone or by Zoom. There you're physically present. You're smelling those aromas of the food cooking, or the sound of music playing, or the kids laughing in the background, or the women gossiping or talking, or stories, tall tales about, they once fought off 10 bandits with one stick, or whatever it may be. Or time you cannot replace. In this day and age, we're losing a lot of that, simply because everyone says they're busy, but what are we actually accomplishing? And this event helps us kind of take a step back. And you can't use a cell phone to cook chicharrones. You can't use a microwave to fry ribs or costillas. You have to use your skills, all your sight, your smell, your hearing, all this stuff to help you with this event. And I think it's a super important thing to pass down, and it's a time for family to look forward to coming together.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the whole reason for them. So, what does this event mean to the community? How are the different ways that people can get involved in helping put on this event? Yeah, what do you guys think? Auntie Berna, what do you think?
Well, like here, I guess I get Michael more step up, because I know helping here, because like, okay, you can have one for your family, but the one that is held here in Belen, New Mexico is the world's largest matanza. And there is so many things, not only with the killing of pigs and butchering it. I mean, we're talking cleaning the parks, making sure that people know where to go, having booths set up. And I know Michael can speak more of this. I mean, I've helped, cooking on the background and stuff, and then just running around getting information and doing what I need to do. But there's so much it takes a whole, it doesn't take a person, it takes a community to get this going, because we're talking thousands of people that come and attend. Thousands. So and I know Michael can speak more on that.
Yeah, Uncle, what do you think? What does this event mean to the community, and how do people get involved?
It's, like Berna was saying, is there's the large matanza there that occurs every year in Belen, and there's also the private ones in your backyard. Again, the tradition of it, as far as in your backyard, I'm not saying you can't start your own tradition, but again, it's a little bit unnerving, because you don't know what to expect. It's a big task and a big responsibility. and you need help and support. And again, the community, that's where your neighbors come in. That's where your friends come in, your coworkers that may have grown up. You know, since being in the military and being able to travel to a lot of different areas, the one thing that's unique about New Mexico is, yes, in landmass, it's very large. It's the fifth largest state in the United States, landmass wise, but population wise, it's only 2.2 million people. And a lot of the individuals that reside there in the state have lived there for centuries. And again, just being in the culture itself, it's so ingrained in everywhere. And, you know, from the northern part of the state to the Rio Bajo is what they call it, the Central Valley of New Mexico, down to the southern part of the state. It's just been a staple that has been passed from generation to generation throughout the communities. Now, Auntie Berna made a comment earlier. Sometimes, yeah, it's not a male-dominant event, again, but a lot of it culturally has been through male counterparts. You know, uncles, nephews, grandfathers, dads. And if your family, I mean, my dad would be laughing now if he was here, but he had 5 daughters and I'm the only boy. Not saying that my sisters have not put on an event like that, but again, it's usually left to the male heirs of a family that continue that tradition. But as long as they've been introduced to it and around it. So from that aspect, it's just getting involved in the community as far as your neighbors and friends and asking. And sometimes to have that leap of faith that the people are going to unite to come help you through this process. Because let's be honest, I mean, from the time that you were in grade school to the time now you're getting your master's degree and this whole conversation, you've had the help of many people that have helped you get here. And that's the same concepts with the Mantanza or with that cultural event, is just getting involved and asking to help. You know, a lot of it, what I've heard a dicho or saying, you know, you only have to know 20% of some subject matter, right? And it's 80% relationships. Hopefully that 80% of people that you know how to slaughter a pig and process it. So again, it's just through communication and finding support in your network.
Yeah, exactly. Through storytelling, you know, all these things get passed down through building connections, having conversations. So let's, for example, say I wanted to have a Matanza this weekend. I want to call up all my friends, you know, have a good time. How do I even go about having a Matanza? What are the steps to that? I wouldn't even know what to do, really. So Uncle Michael, walk me through that.
Okay. I mean, again, is making sure you have an area for it. You know, you're not going to process an animal or dispatch an animal in your home. It's going to be outside in your backyard, underneath the barn. If your backyard is large enough, you know, are you going to have enough parking for your guests? Is it going to be? Are there rules and regulations in the city that, you know, prohibit you from having this event in your backyard? But again, making sure that you have the proper equipment, because again, on a small end, a pig may weigh 150 pounds, to a large end 300 pounds. So that's a lot. That's a lot of animals. And again, if you don't have the help, number one, you need to have people that know what they're doing. So again, making sure you have wood for your fire, making sure you have a 55-gallon drum to boil water in. And a lot of people, well, why do I need water? Well, once you did, the correct way is, the correct saying is dispatch an animal. You don't say slaughter or kill anymore, but it's dispatch an animal. Once the pig is dispatched, well, what do we do from there? You know, again, it has to be transferred from the trailer or the pen that it's sitting in to a table. The reason why that water is boiling is a lot of people do a couple different things. They do burlap sacks, okay, gunny sacks or burlap sacks. They put them in water, let that water, scalding water get so hot, and those burlap sacks, and you put it on the pig to shave the hair off of it. Because remember those cueritos, or the hide that I was talking about? That's part of the food that you eat as well. So again, that has to be cleaned. Once that pig is skinned, as far as all the hair removed off the item, that's where you start to, I guess you could say, dissect the animal, to where you start removing the inner organs of it. And that's where you have to be very careful, because you don't want to damage any of the organs that you may keep, or contaminate the meat inside because of the body, the organs that may be disrupted, that may be poisonous to humans. So again, that is through experience of the event, of that matanza being passed down from generation to generation. Once those organs are removed, things are separated, and then from there you start quartering the animal and then separating the meat. And while you're doing this, all your cooking materials, your planchas are what they called, or your grills, or your discos, or your casos. Casos are the big copper pots or big pots that you cook your chicharrones in. All that is assembled and is all going all at once. So you're having to multitask. And if you're overseeing this event, hey, it's like, Brianna, make sure to stir those potatoes before they burn. Berna, make sure to stir the chicharrones. The flame is too high. Hey, the ribs are, be careful. Hey, you're putting too much salt in the carne adobada. So all these things are going on. It's like, it's organized chaos is what it comes down to. But again, that organized chaos, again, part of those, part of what I was telling you about as teaching those rituals or those beliefs is organizational skills. You have to learn to communicate with these individuals. And everyone has a role and responsibility based on age and experience. You have the elders who are responsible for certain things on the hierarchy, I guess you could say, versus the kids who are responsible for maintaining the water, maintaining the fire, splitting the wood, cleaning up the trash, moving a lot of things around. And it's not because they're degrading jobs, it's just passed down through the responsibilities to where you work yourself up to that role of like, you're, I don't want to say a shot caller, but you're like, hey, Brianna, get on that, start cutting that up. Hey, Ariana, do that. Hey, Pat, do that. Hey, Bert, do this. And usually that's your elder because they have the most experience with it. So again, they use those sights, those smells, those sounds to help guide them through this process. So where do you start? You start by getting all that stuff ready.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. Tables,
so this is not like calling it in a weekend. So what he's saying and he's getting, so you should have your beans cleaned. You should have your potatoes all chopped and peeled. You should have all your chili made and cleaned. You should have all your serving tools because these guys are going to be running in for pots, pans, towels, maybe a burn kit. I mean, there's a lot that you have to have. And if you don't have the help, this is not working, because and this is like planned a month ahead. It's not like, hey, this weekend let's have a party. That's not the thing. Because like I said, once you have to have all your people involved knowing how this is going to work, and then where are you going to put all this meat? Do you have pots for it? Do you have this? So setting up everything. So
and goers, they're waiting to get served their food. so the pressure's on because you have 30, 40 people looking at you while you're cooking on the grill, and you're just like, is it ready? I'm hungry. It smells good. When is it going to be ready to taste it? It's like, get away.
Stealing the tortillas and things while they're coming off the comal.
Yeah. The funny things are, one of the concerns I heard people in the past say, this was from an earlier question, was a lot of people are concerned about their teeth.
Right? The chicharrones.
They crack on a chicharron because they're deep fried pork. So they may crack their teeth, but they're like, is it worth it? They're willing to take that chance.
I think it's safe to say most of us are. Chicharrones are so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. Great feedback on that. So would you guys say that there's a music element to matanzas? Is that something that we would see in a matanza? Uncle Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's just part of the cultural. You have a lot of family members who have musical backgrounds, and I can speak from experience, and Verna can, piggyback on this as well. Is our family comes from a musical background, from a lot of it from 60, 80 years ago, to where a lot of the rancheras are saying, corridos are saying, all this cultural music all stemmed back from way back in the day, and these were songs or ballads of ranch life or living out and about on the plains, or the llano is what they call it, or on the ranches in the mountains. All these corridos and rancheras are basically songs or ballads of people's lives, and those are cultural songs throughout these events. Some have been passed down from generations. we're fortunate enough to have a musical family to where our uncle is a recording artist and he's a legend there in New Mexico, but a lot of his are embraced at events like this. So yeah, there is a lot of it. And believe it or not, a lot of people even sing gospel hymns, there, giving praise to the family being safe or the family getting together and just blessing their day, because there is a religious tie into this as well, because again, it's part of our beliefs and our culture.
Yeah, that's really, really important. And that kind of touched on the question I had also. So, Auntie, what do you think? Do you think music and prayer before the feast is an element in this?
There's usually a blessing because it's just such a blessing for the family, and just to bless the food before and bless the whole event, basically. And it's always been like that, and it didn't matter what religion you are. It's just basically thanking everybody, and no matter what belief in what God you have or whatever, just saying, praise God for being able to help us get through this and give back to our community or our family, and having these food, and like the praise of music, like I said, it brings everybody together, whether you have accordions or saxophone and trumpets and guitars, and I mean, it's just beautiful because you see people that are 80 years old, 90 years old playing the accordion. We have people that bring, like I said, and whether they've never even played before, they're like, hey, that's cool, I have a guitar, bring it. The more the merrier. And it's so cool just to have a blessed day. And I think that ties in with the prayer and the singing, because everybody's just united. And it's such an awesome feeling. And people that have never been to Matanza and they come and they join us, they're like, wow, when's the next one?
It's always so much
fun.
fun.
And like I said, and people learn as they go, and they're like, how can we do this? And like I said, they may not have the equipment, but they're always welcome to come back and join and help and learn,
Yeah. Do you guys have any stories or any kind of really distinctive memories of a Mantanza? Maybe something funny happened or something, that was important to you at any of the many Mantanzas that you guys have been to? Is there something that sticks out?
Well, what's cool for me that I always think about, because always, like, of course, the women were always inside cooking and stuff, and the kids were outside playing football or running around, go get this and ask grandma this, or go get this, a measuring cup or whatever. But then when they were cutting the back strap off the pigs, all the kids would line up and we'd be holding a 2x4. And so when they put the back strap, they'd flip it over the 2x4, and the men would just like that. So we thought we were so cool because we were just all in line helping, and that was the easiest thing for them to do. But then it was always just, I don't know, just the involvement. Like, we were always included. We weren't in the way. We helped a lot, so that's always been an awesome memory. And then my grandpa's copper pot. Everybody in the family would use, let me stir the chicharrones in that copper pot. That's forever in my heart.
That's so awesome. I have so many photos of everyone stirring chicharrones at family events. What about you, Uncle? Are there any memorable Matanza moments for you?
Yeah, one of the ones that sticks in mind actually even includes your dad. This was 95, I believe. We were going to have a real big Matanza. A lot of people were invited because this is when we didn't.
Excuse me.
It snowed, and actually it snowed and shut down the highway. So a lot of, the brave that risked driving from Belen or Albuquerque, they did. Some of them got stuck in Socorro, but we ended up getting about 6 inches of snow that one year, and we had trash bags on. We're out there cooking. It didn't slow us down, but we were able to celebrate that Matanza again, even with 6 inches of snow. But that was one of my fondest memories that I can recall in my youth, being a 16, 17-year-old, celebrating that in that experience with a couple of my cousins, my cousin Joseph, your dad, my dad, one of my brother-in-laws at the time. It was a great experience. And some of my friends, that's one of the Matanzas that sticks out the most.
That's so cool. Yeah, they're always so much fun. And I feel like every time there's a Matanza, there's a good story to come along with it. So yeah, so this has been a really great interview. I think that it's been, very special as well as very informative. So basically, I just want to know if you have any closing thoughts, Auntie. What are your closing thoughts about Mantanzas or anything that you'd like to share?
I just think that it's very important for us to keep up traditions. I mean, not everybody may agree with some of the stuff that happens at them and stuff. And it's not a way to hurt anybody or anything like that. It's just a way to bring people together and people that don't understand. I mean, it's okay. It's just more of keeping tradition and keeping respect for our elders and teaching our kids how to work together and just come together and unite as a family and and friends are always family as well. Just I think it's, if we let this go, then it just stops, and we should be continuing this because it's not a bad thing, it's a positive thing, and it's just a way of uniting people.
Mhm.
So that's how I feel about it. I hope we can always continue with this.
Yeah. Uncle, what about you? I know there had been a time where maybe the Mantanza might have been canceled. I know you worked really hard to get it going. What are your closing thoughts? Do you have anything that really comes to mind?
One of the things that stuck out with me with that incident is, like Berna was saying earlier, the world's largest matanza is held there in Belen, New Mexico, and it's usually the Saturday prior to Super Bowl or the last Saturday of January.
Mhm.
And it's a time and an event that allows us to keep our tradition and raise money for scholarships for the youth of Valencia County. When I sat on the board there for the Hispano Chamber of Commerce,
Mhm.
and one of the biggest clashes that we had to deal with is what happens when you have cultural beliefs and laws and regulations that may conflict.
Mhm.
And one of the hardest things that we had to deal with was the USDA at that time said, okay, we understand it's a tradition and a cultural event. However, these items are being processed and cooked for the general public.
Mhm.
Technically, you have to have that inspected by a USDA certified facility. And it raised a lot of eyebrows. And again, a lot of the individuals and the participants in this event, because sometimes we had up to 25 teams competing in this event, it was very alarming to them, saying, hey, you're taking away part of our culture. Why would we want or intentionally cook bad food to serve to the public when the public in itself is our friends and families because the community is so small? I mean, these are people that we grew up around or grew up with. Why would we intentionally do that? So they took a personal, they felt it as a personal attack. And sometimes we have that in this day and age, not only just with our Hispanic culture and this event, but there's culture similar to it throughout the United States that may face the same issues. And it's breaking those barriers to where you have that compromise with the United States government, and you also have the compromise of the elders in this culture or event to come to an understanding and an agreement to try to keep the culture alive the best you can, but with the respect of upholding the law or the regulations that you have to abide by. And that was one of the challenges that I faced in that event. Is we had to come to we had to come to an agreement to where the animals, yes, we normally would process the animals on site. However, now they had to be processed in a USDA plant prior, and then the carcasses themselves would be delivered to the event after they had been inspected. So that was kind of tough on the community. But again, that happens between a cultural clash and the laws and regulations that govern our United States.
Yeah, really excellent point. And I'm glad you were able to, help with that process of getting it going because it is such an important event. So yeah, Uncle, any closing thoughts on Mantanzas?
No, it's a great event, and like Berna, to recap on what Berna said, is it's a time to celebrate not only your closeness with the land and the items that God or your religion may have provided to you, but it's also time to celebrate the festivities with your family, and again breaking that bread with them or sharing that meal. Again, sharing a meal with someone at your kitchen table, that's a very intimate experience, and that's something you don't share with just anyone but the closest people to you. But over time, as a community, and as small as the communities are in New Mexico, everyone's almost related, everyone's family. So again, sharing that meal and that intimate experience is a great thing. That's something that everyone, regardless of your creed, your color, your nationality, your language, that's something that we all share, is being able to eat and share those meals together. And that's a very important thing. And I think that Matanza displays that. It gives individuals the opportunity to experience a different side of culture. But hopefully it also teaches us in our culture to be more open-minded to other people's cultures and try different things as well. Because you find out a lot of similarities between a lot of cultures exist, but if you close your mind to it, you're never going to realize that the Filipino culture shares similar things as the Hispanic culture, as do the Moors, as do, African American cultures. You'd be very surprised to find out a lot of cultures are very similar, just because they all originated outside of the United States and were brought here.
Mm-hmm. Auntie, do you have any thoughts to that?
No, and he's right. Like I said, that's why I was saying, like, it's open to everybody. And being that, I was telling her also, Michael, that people from all over the world would come to the Matanza. And it's amazing, because this is like an everyday, not an everyday life, because we don't have them all the time, but just during certain holidays or time of the year. But these people travel here because they're so excited, just like what is a chicharroni? It's just so neat.
Yeah.
We become very complacent, and a good example is even the balloon fiesta. We've become accustomed to that. It's like, it's just a balloon fiesta. When you have people from around the world that come to see this, and they're looking at us like this is in your backyard and you're not here, and it teaches us the value of to appreciate the smaller things in life that we take for granted, because we expect them, or there's something that are so common in our culture that we have a tendency to take for granted. And you come to a point in your life as you get older and you start to realize this, is there's one thing that my dad said you can't make more of. You can't make more land, and you can't make more time, and those are two valuable things in life that if you take for granted are just going to pass you by. And again, the time aspect, before you know it, I look back in my life, I'm 43 years old, but I still talk about it, and I still remember those smells and sights and sounds of when I was 5, 6 years old in our backyard with my dad back there. But again, I wish I could go back to those days? Absolutely. But I'm also proud to know that I got to experience that, and now I get to show my kids that same thing, and hopefully they embrace it just as much as I did.
Yeah, I think, you brought up some great points. New Mexico has a lot of rare and very unique beauty to it. And as New Mexicans, sometimes we don't, stop to smell the roses, or stop to see the balloons, or stop to smell the green chile. But these are all very special things that a lot of people don't get to experience. So, check out New Mexico, go to a Mantanza. There's definitely going to be some in your average person's backyard. So definitely go check out these Mantanzas. It's a great experience. You can get great food, great music. It's a great time to be surrounded by loved ones, have some good laughs. Your family will probably make fun of you. You won't be roasting the pig, but they'll be roasting you, because you'll probably be the joke of the night if you do something embarrassing, like Uncle Michael had said. But yeah, definitely check them out. They're so much fun. So thank you both for being here tonight. Auntie Berna, I really appreciate it. Padrino, thank you so much for being here tonight as well. I love you guys a lot. It means a lot to have you guys here to support me and to be a part of this process. So yeah, thank you guys so much.
You're very welcome. We're here to support you in any which way we can. But again, any youth, if we can give positive feedback and positive support, that's what we're here for. Your generation are the next ones in line to take care of us when we get older.
So hopefully we'll see you guys at the next Matanza.
Yes. Awesome. Bye, everyone. Thank you.